What is up? It's me, Angelo. Welcome to another episode of Dank times Danker Thoughts, episode 112. How the time flies. So, what's been going on, everybody? I have a little bit of an update to tell you. Last episode, I talked about the last date I went on and how it did a complete U turn. I thought the date was going decent enough, and the girl I thought really liked me because it was her. You know the backstory. You guys, if you remember the backstory, if not, I'll try to summarize it here. A couple months ago, I connected with the girl on OkCupid, I believe. Wasn't really feeling it, and after a few weeks, we eventually stopped talking, and then a couple months passed. She swiped yes on me again about a month ago, and we started chit chatting, and we decided to meet. And I felt a little manipulated into the date because there was a reason why we stopped talking. But I thought, whatever. Maybe I was being too critical or too judgy on this chick. So yeah, let's go out. The date I thought went decent enough, like I said. And she told me how much she enjoyed herself, how funny I am, how she likes me. Not likes me, but just liked my company. And then she later invited me out on the same, after the date, by the way, she invited me to go out dancing with her and her friend and blah, 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 blah. So I thought, maybe we got something here. Probably not, but let's at least see where it heads. If anything, maybe we can clap cheeks a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, later she had a few drinks in her and said that I catfished her because I was more fat in person than on one of the photos that she saw on the dating app, which is complete nonsense. Uh, I take that accusation very seriously, especially ever since I've been catfished a few times, and now she's saying that I catfished her. So anyway, we hadn't spoken in a few days, and then out of the blue, this is the update here, she messaged me back saying, well, I did enjoy our time together. I enjoy your company. You're funny, blah, 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 blah. And I wouldn't mind seeing you again, but I don't know why you just can't admit that you catfished me. And I thought, I'm not getting into this fucking argument again with this woman. So then I wrote back to her saying, okay, we're not getting into this again. We've already said that. We've already talked about this. So good luck in your dating endeavors. I wish you luck. And then I deleted and blocked her. But can you imagine reaching back out to me like that and telling me that bullshit? Like, hey, I really like you and I really had a fun time with you, but can't you admit you're more of a fat fucking person than in the photo? No, bitch, I can't. Because I'm not. I would admit if I was. So I don't buy it. Now, I will say maybe I was 5 pounds to 10 pounds heavier now than in that photo, but it's not a giant difference. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't think I was misrepresenting myself in any way. And the fact that she brought it back up after we stopped talking, and that's all she wanted to say, was just to like remind me one more time why I dodged a bullet with her. So, can you believe that, guys? Oh, I mean, some shit that men have to deal with, women will never understand. I don't think women understand how much men need and relish compliments. I can't speak for all men, but most of my male friends that I know, if you compliment us and we believe you, we will hold on to that memory like it's a core memory, like that movie Inside Out. I still remember compliments that were given to me back in middle school and high school. I remember compliments with almost every woman I've ever been with. I will never forget those unless I get that Alzheimer's, which, again, Alzheimer's, another reason to prove that God doesn't exist. So, women, if you're not sure what to tell a guy that you like, try complimenting him, and then he will just melt. He'll be like putty in your hands. He'll be yours to do with whatever you want to, if that makes any sense. So, don't really have anything else about that. I do have a few dates coming up. I just, I'm getting sick of it already. You need to trust yourself. Trust your initial judgment. I think we all can do that. I think sometimes we are our own worst critic when it comes to ignoring our initial beliefs about someone, especially if you're on a date. I think some people want to see the good in someone so badly that they will look past obvious red flags. And instead, they'll pretend that what's happening isn't really happening and that your interpretation of what that other person is saying maybe is just wrong because you don't know the person enough. I felt like that with the chick who said I catfished her. I thought, well, maybe that she's just joking around and I don't know her sense of humor. But the more we talked about it, that's when I realized, oh shit, this bitch cray cray. So I think we all need to start trusting our judgment a little bit. But then again, to play devil's advocate on my own argument, Jesus, what a fucking mess I am, is that sometimes if you believe your initial judgment, you actually will miss out on some good things because you are too quick to judge. So I guess if it's obvious, you got to listen to yourself. You know, we all have that gut feeling for a reason. We shouldn't do political policy off of gut feeling. Look at the boomers. Oh, that's sad, but true. But we'd use it when we're evaluating a potential partner. But anyway, enough about all that. Let's dig into some news. First, we'll cover the good, then the funny, and then the cringe-worthy bad. So first, the good. Now, this is from Bloomberg. Ugh, you know, personally, Bloomberg as a person, I would love nothing more to just Hadoken him right in the cunt. Pandemic rift seen widening mortality gap between Republicans and Democrats. See, I told you, good news. Premature death rates are worsening in Republican counties. COVID pandemic could exacerbate health gap, study says. Again, good news. Again, all the right people are dying. I've said it once, I've said it again. Republican-leaning counties in the U.S. experienced higher rates of premature death even before the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, a study found. And researchers fear politically polarized responses to the virus could widen the gap. Democratic voting counties had an overall 15% lower death rate than Republican counties in 2019, up from a 3% difference back in 2001. Now, researchers at Harvard, Brigham, and Women's Hospital in Boston said Tuesday that the journal compared mortality data from U.S. counties based on how they voted in historical presidential and gubernatorial elections. Attitudes on health-related issues, such as abortion and HIV prevention, have long tracked along political lines. The study doesn't include mortality data from the pandemic, which took hold in the U.S. in March 2020. Oh, like we need a reminder. However, the authors say that divisive posturing around virus countermeasures, such as vaccines and mask wearing, could mean that the rift will continue to widen. The pandemic was the first time that politics has become such a salient, identifiable public health issue, Hyder Warich, a physician at Brigham and Women's and the study's lead author, said in an interview. The main implication of our study is that what party environment you live in or what party ideology you affiliate with will have a significant outcome on your health. To me, that's common sense. Now, this is something that is not getting talked about at all or enough, in my estimation, which is when you talk about the 2024 presidential election or even the upcoming midterms, everyone is assuming, rightly so, including myself here, I assume this as well, that the Democrats are going to get slaughtered unless they do something fast. But what they don't account for, and I often forget as well, so I'm calling myself out on this, is that we've had over 1 million deaths from COVID in this country. 1 million people. That's a lot of voters. And when you look at, of that 1 million, what kinds of people were they? Well, not to make a broad sweeping judgment here, but what I've seen, the majority of deaths from COVID are the elderly and the unvaccinated. Now, you could also say that people that have underlying health conditions make up a large percentage too. Yes, and they also tend to be senior citizens. Now, there are some people, even my age, that have died from COVID because they have health issues, but I don't think that's the majority. The majority of deaths from COVID in this country I have seen are the elderly and the unvaccinated. And so then you have to step back and look at this through a political lens. Okay, unvaccinated people tend to be Republicans, conservatives. That's not to say some liberals are anti-vax, but just not as many. I have some liberal friends that are skeptical about the vaccine. I'm skeptical about some things, but I still got the damn thing. And then you look at the other category of people, which are the elderly. How do the elderly in this country tend to vote? They tend to vote Republican. Not as much as the unvaccinated, but still a fair majority of senior citizens in this country vote Republican. So the Republicans have lost about, not a million. I'm not going to say everyone who died from COVID would vote Republican. That's just obscene and not true. It's that's bullshit. But let's just cut that number in half, just for the sake of an argument. And I have no idea if I'm right or wrong in this prediction here, but let's just say 500,000 people would have voted for Republican if they were alive. So Republicans have lost, let's just say, again, we're just grasping at straws or making up numbers, 500,000 votes. That's going to hurt, especially in small rural counties and more of the red states, where I was looking at Missouri has lost 40,000 people. And that's probably half the population. So I don't know if political pundits are accounting for the 1 million dead. And I think when I cut that 1 million in half and said 500,000 would vote Republican, I think that number would actually be higher. I would say maybe 600,000. I think it would be under 750, but still, the majority of COVID deaths in this country, I would say, would vote Republican if they were to even vote, or even if they can vote. So I'm not celebrating this, I'm just calling it out. Well, I guess I am kind of celebrating it when I say all the right people are dying, because if you're still unvaccinated in 2022 and you catch COVID and die, I mean, the CDC should send people to go laugh at your funeral. I don't feel bad for you is what I'm getting at. So this study from Harvard shows me that if you're unvaccinated and you live in a Republican county, you have a higher mortality rate. Duh. Common fucking sense. And then if you look at that and spread it across the whole country, Republicans may not be in such a rosy place as they foresee it. Now, I still think the Democrats are in trouble. I still think Biden's approval rating, I don't think, is even cracked 42% in what, a month or two? And I can't imagine it's going to be getting any better with what's going on in this country. We are now watching the January 6th committee hearings, which I think should have been held within 2 or 3 months of January 6th. People have moved on, unfortunately. I would have liked them to hold these hearings within a couple months of when it happened. But because so much time has passed, I don't think January 6th is as high of a priority for a lot of voters in this country as the Democrats are banking on. Democratic voters, I think, want to know, but the Democrats weren't going to lose their own voters to the January 6th committee hearings. That's not going to happen. You want to look at independents and then unsure Republicans. Now, how many independents and unsure Republicans are going to have their minds changed based on whatever comes out of the January 6th committee hearings? Are we really going to get any new information? If it turns out that Josh Hawley and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz and all these assholes were conspiring for the January 6th thing to happen, encouraging it, and would actually vote along with throwing Biden's victory out, would that really come as a shock and a surprise to you? And if it is found out that that's all true and that Donald Trump himself gets indicted on God knows what do you think is going to happen? Do you think people are going to see jail time? Do you think people are going to be kicked out of elected positions? I sure don't. I hope I'm wrong. But what are the consequences going to be? I still think this is an important committee hearing. Don't get me wrong. This issue needs to be talked about. We need to know the facts. But what the fuck? I want to have committee hearings about the beginning of COVID. I want to have committee hearings about banning trading stocks from elected officials. I want to have committee hearings about getting rid of the filibuster. I mean, so many important things. And unfortunately, what's happening in this country, January 6th may not even crack the top 10 of issues that are important to most families in America. I mean, look at inflation. Look at Roe versus Wade. Look at gun control. Look at voting rights. I mean, I could keep going. My point being, how high is January 6th in importance to the common American voter? I think if you're a Democrat, you're excited just because, we like to see Republicans shit on. I don't think Fox News is even airing it. So what are we going to gain? I think this is important shit to know, but could it be just another instrument or tool to further divide us? I hope not. I hope that Republicans do watch, and I do hope a fair number will change their mind. I just don't see that happening. And I would rather have committee hearings about issues that both Democrats and Republicans and independents want. But maybe I'm just being a little too skeptical here. This is an important event. We need to know the facts. I guess I should just rephrase my whole thought process here. I am just skeptical of what the outcome will be. Unless it is a decisive and direct outcome, I don't think you're going to appease the Republicans and the conservative base in this country, which is what you got to do. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we will all come together and be holding hands here shortly. But anyway, let's move on to the other good story. This story is an update on the story that I've been talking about for a couple episodes, which is the assassination of American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh by the Israeli government. At least that's what I choose to believe. Senators Mitt Romney and Jon Ossoff sent a letter to Secretary of State Antony Blinken asking him to launch an investigation into the death of American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. In their letter, the lawmakers asked the State Department to launch a full and transparent probe into Abu Akleh's death and call for accountability as well. Abu Akleh, who worked for Al Jazeera's Arabic language channel and was one of the region's most recognizable journalists, was shot and killed last month during a raid conducted by the Israeli military. Abu Akleh was covering the raid in the city of Jenin, which is controlled by the Palestinian Authority in the occupied West Bank region of the country. The killing of a U.S. citizen and of a journalist engaged in the work of reporting in a conflict zone is unacceptable, the senators wrote in their letter. All over the world, journalists pursue truth and accountability at great personal risk. Press freedom is a core American value, and we cannot accept impunity when journalists are killed in the line of duty. We insist that the administration conduct a full and transparent investigation is completed and that justice is served for Mrs. Akleh's death. The senators also insisted that the Biden administration ensure a full and transparent investigation, asking for an update within 30 days. The letter comes as U.S. officials, including President Biden, have publicly condemned the killing of Abu Akleh and called for an investigation to determine who is accountable. Israeli authorities have launched a separate investigation into Abu Akleh's killing, with Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett saying that Palestinian armed forces might have killed the veteran journalist. Al Jazeera, however, as well as journalists with Abu Akleh at the time of her death, have blamed Israeli forces. And a Palestinian investigation concluded Abu Akleh was deliberately shot and killed by Israeli soldiers. Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz called the investigation's findings a blatant lie. Well, of course you would. And I have to commend Mitt Romney on this. I've always been a fan of Jon Ossoff, so this is not new to me, him having such character. But this is what we need more in this country, in my opinion. Democrats and Republicans coming together and wanting to do something that's for the good of not just America, but for the world, and showing this country and the world, again, that we can work together. That even though we have our differences, we can still reach common ground together. And I would tell Mitt Romney and Jon Ossoff, why stop there? Write a letter to the State Department asking about investigation into Jamal Khashoggi. Let's get some coverage on that. I want to see what the fuck Saudi Arabia was doing. Saudi Arabia and Israel cannot just do whatever the fuck they want to do with not only American journalists, but journalists all across the world. So this is good. This is great, good, amazing news. I hope we do get an update within 30 days, and I hope we can finally close this chapter, find out what happened, and whoever is responsible will face certain consequences. And I hope there's no whinging about it, because bullshit like this sets a bad precedent for the future. If you can kill American journalists or just journalists anywhere in the world and face no consequences, I mean, that's not good. That's not the kind of world or society that I personally want to be living in, and I don't think you want to either. But now let's move on to the funny story. Right-wing provocateur Milo Yiannopoulos is working as an unpaid intern in the congressional offices of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, shocker! How is this not a reality TV show that airs on Fox News? I mean, come on. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene, Milo Yiannopoulos, whatever his name is, together. Come on. This is better than my 600-pound life. Are you shitting me? Yiannopoulos, 37, announced the job on his Telegram account Monday. I don't even know what Telegram is. With a photo of his official intern congressional badge. What the fuck is Telegram? Is it another social media site? I would imagine so. I've finally been persuaded out of retirement, but my skills are a bit rusty. So the best role I could land was an unpaid internship with a friend. Pray for me! Mummy always said I'd end up in the government, the British commentator added. Green's office confirmed that Yiannopoulos is indeed their intern. I mean, doesn't this perfectly sum up the shit show, reality TV nightmare that is the Republican government base right now, or just the government in general? Yiannopoulos, who formerly worked at Breitbart, just another lauded publication, rose to prominence in the mid-2010s for his incendiary stances on feminism, Islam, and other hot-button issues, but fell out of public conversation after intense backlash. He was disinvited from the Conservative Political Action Conference in 2017 after a video circulated in which Yiannopoulos appeared to defend pedophilia. He was banned from Twitter in 2016 and from Facebook in 2019. Australia banned Yiannopoulos from entering their country in 2019 following comments he made about the Christchurch mass shooting at a New Zealand mosque. Last year, he announced that he is ex-gay. I mean, you gotta be a pretty fucking bad, scum-sucking, vile human being to get banned from Australia. Australia is like if Alabama was given a whole fucking country. I mean, you think we're bad. Fucking Aussies, man. I mean, you have to realize, and maybe you know this, and if not, brace yourself for a shocking development, but Australia and America became countries roughly around the same time. And one was basically a prison hole, and the other one was a bunch of religious zealots. And then we just intermingled. So Australia is a little bit like Diet America. They're a little bit more progressive than us, and they're also a little bit more radical right than us in some ways. But anyway, you have to be pretty fucking bad to be kicked out of that fucking country. That's all I'm saying. Although I'm sure South Africa would love Yiannopoulos in. Yiannopoulos has been spotted at some of Green's public appearances in recent months. In late April, he attended a press conference where Green announced legislation to repeal and replace Section 230, the law that protects online platforms from liability. Well, that's something we need in this country. We need to protect online platforms from liability. Really. Facebook, Twitter, all that bullshit. Yeah, let's protect them. At that press conference, Green said that she wanted to invite Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who is in the process of buying Twitter, to a roundtable of people unjustly banned from Twitter. She said that she would want Yiannopoulos to be in that roundtable as well as InfoWars conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. Oh my God. Now, do you think those hearings are going to be televised live? I mean, what a shit show that would be. I mean, that's where you want your next mass shooting. I kid, YouTube. Don't take me off. In early May, Yiannopoulos was spotted backstage with Green's team at a GOP primary debate. Oh, well, that's just great. Yin and yang coming together. But now we move on to the cringeworthy, this is why progressives will never win anything important or the Democrats are doomed to fail, cringeworthy story. Representative Ocasio-Cortez went on a mini rant criticizing Democrats for railing against the term Latinx. Ooh, God, sent shivers down my spine. Now, I'm a giant fan and supporter of AOC. I think she is just exactly what this country needs, at least for my generation and the generation Z or X. What, Generation Z, Gen Z, whatever the young fucks are. That is why so many of us adore her. And her being drop dead gorgeous really is like the fifth best thing about her. However, saying all that praise, I probably agree with her roughly 75% of the time, which leaves 25%, which makes my head spin like I am in the middle of an exorcism. And it's exactly this kind of shit here. Now, before she said this, I was watching highlights of a live stream she did where she was talking about gun laws, and she was hitting it out of the ballpark, hitting the nail right on the head. She had so many good points. How could you disagree with her? And then she was talking about how in this country, we really don't live in a democracy anymore. For most Americans, it's not a democracy, it's an oligarchy. And she was talking about how corporations have such greed and corruption, and you have the lobbyists, and she was going on and on and on. And again, 100%, 100. She was absolutely fucking right. And then she says this. I also have a mini rant about this because there are some politicians, including Democrat politicians, that rail against the term Latinx. And they're like, this is so bad. This is so bad for the party. Like, blah, blah, blah. And like, it's almost like it hasn't struck some of these folks that another person's identity is not about your re-election prospects. Gender is fluid. Language is fluid. And I think people right now are using the E term as a gender neutral in order to be as inclusive as possible. Don't have to make drama over it. I don't quite understand what she means by people are now using the E term. I don't get that. But let's just back up to what she's saying. She wants Democrats to use the term Latinx. And on a personal note, I think that's stupid as fuck. Not because I don't believe in the Latinx terminology, which, I could give a fuck. But saying that we have to do it is absurd. Now, I don't have tons and tons and tons of Latin friends. I don't. But the ones that I do have, and when this topic has come up, absolute 0% like the term Latinx. And these are people predominantly my age. And you know that the older generation of Latin people do not want to use the term Latinx. I heard one Latin person sum it up pretty brilliantly. He said the term Latinx is for middle class or upper middle class wealthy suburbanite people who are probably third or fourth generation in this country and that have never really suffered for anything. And they just want to kind of latch on to the white fragility thing that's been going on. Just how you see white people overreacting to so many things. Look at cancel culture. And they want to get on the bandwagon with this Latinx thing. Now, I'm not saying this person is right or wrong, but it makes a lot of sense to me. I'm also not saying some people, if they want to be called Latinx, well then sure, they should be called Latinx. But to just make a broad statement, like AOC said here, and that the whole Democratic Party should start using it, is just insane in the membrane, baby. If I talk to my parents about Latinx and what AOC's opinion is, they're going to give the argument a good 30 seconds before they swallow their tongue and go into a deep coma. Or they may just rage and say, what the fuck is she talking about? She's batshit. Why is she even in the government? Like, old people are shooketh by AOC on many things, even when you show them content that they agree with. And then you say, but so do you like AOC? Would you support AOC? Oh, no, she's nuts. She's an extremist. Like, okay. So even people who vote Democrat, who consider themselves moderates, look at AOC as some kind of left-wing, feminist, crazy, socialist, commie, whatever. I mean, it's crazy. She's not at all. For the most part. I know Fox News has probably dedicated a whole fucking station to following her goings on. Fox 5, the AOC channel. Look at AOC. She married a white guy. So progressive. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, fuck off. She's young. She's brilliant. She's beautiful. But like most young and beautiful women, every now and then they say some batshit stuff like this. Some Democrats have been using more gender neutral language in reaching out to Hispanic voters, multiple pollsters and political observers have noted in recent months. However, a recent political poll conducted among Hispanic voters found 40% indicate the term Latinx bothers them or offends them to some degree, and 30% said they would be less likely to support a politician or organization that uses that term. And I think it's also need to call out, if you go to any Latin country, and you start talking to them about Latinx, they'll look at you like you have lobsters crawling out of your ears. And by the way, for those of you that don't know what Latinx means, the Spanish language is not gender neutral. It has a masculine and a feminine way of speaking. Duh. There is Latino and Latina. However, you know how some people today, mostly young people, and if they're not young, they're mentally deranged, they do not want any kind of gender norms in our society whatsoever. And I can see the benefits of it sometimes, that overall I think, okay, I'll call you whatever you want, but we're not doing public policy on this for the most part. That's how I feel. So Latin people created this LatinX, although I have a sneaky suspicion white people created it, and then some Latin people globbed onto it, and now it's getting yelled about like it's the most popular thing, when it's not really at all. So that's what Latinx is. It's just a non-gender way of looking at the Latin way of speaking, writing, just their culture, whatever. I think this is stupid. I think most people do. I think that you have a minority of a minority that probably want this to happen, because Latin voters in America are the minority, are one of many minorities. And I would wager that even within that Latin voting community, the people that want to be called Latinx have got to be a small percentage. I can't imagine any Latin person over the age of, say, 50 would even know what it is. And those that do would not want to be called that. It's mostly for young people. Let's face facts. It's mostly for Gen Z and some millennials. And this is why, when you look at the current Democratic field, there is no shoo-in to take over for Biden. As much as I respect and adore AOC, she is too divisive. I mean, she's divisive in her own progressive party. But anyway, she's probably one of the better ones we got in this country. And I don't say that without meaning it. There's very few politicians I hold in high regard as her. But that's not to say that I agree with everything she has to say. I am very transparent in my beliefs, and I call it like it is, baby. Latinx, making every Democratic re-election person say that bullshit, it's going to cost them. I mean, are you crazy? You try going on a debate with your opponent and start using Latinx and just waiting for the applause, and you will hear fucking nothing. But anyway, that's it for the news. I was going to go into how the House passed gun laws, but you know it's not going to pass the Senate. So what's the point of even talking about it? I fully expect the bare minimum to get done when it comes to gun laws, which is maybe expanding background checks, maybe making AR-15s ineligible for purchase until you're 21. And I think that's a step in the right direction, don't get me wrong. And so are enforcing the pre-existing gun laws. But do you really think they're going to outlaw AR-15s? Do you really think they're going to make bullets more expensive like I came up with? Do you think they're going to do fucking anything when it comes to gun training or police training? I mean, come on. I have high hopes, but not that high. Oh, and I guess I should mention that we actually did finally kick off the January 6th committee. And one day after, we have an update from the Nielsen ratings. Nearly 20 million people watched Thursday night's first hearing of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol across broadcast and cable news. Each of the major broadcast television news networks preempted their regularly scheduled programming on Thursday to show continuous live coverage of the 2-hour hearing. I don't think they do that if there was Thursday night football. ABC took the largest haul of viewers, earning 4.8 million, while NBC and CBS carried 3.5 million and 3.3 million respectively. On cable, MSNBC pulled in a whopping 4.1 million viewers during the hearings, not a surprise. Nearly 4 times what the network averages on a typical weeknight. I mean, yeah, because who the fuck is watching MSNBC? Usually dominant Fox News came in second place on cable Thursday night, averaging 3 million viewers from 8 to 10 p.m. CNN came in third with 2.6 million. I mean, cobwebs are in the CNN headquarters. I mean, they're firing everybody. No one is safe on that fucking network, as they shouldn't be. I mean, CNN needs a complete overhaul. Fox took criticism this week for its decision not to air continuous live coverage of the hearings on its main cable channel. The network did not preempt its regularly scheduled opinion shows featuring Tucker Carlson, Hannity, and Laura Ingraham, you know, the KKK clan. Instead, Fox relegated live coverage of the hearings to Fox Business, which ratings figures show pulling 223,000 viewers from 8 to 10 p.m. Fox also provided its live coverage on various streaming platforms and made it available to its affiliate stations across the country. Friday's preliminary figures are likely to grow and do not include viewers who watch the hearings via streaming services such as YouTube. The total of nearly 20 million is smaller than other large primetime political events like President Biden's State of the Union, which pulled in 38 million, but is much larger than the audience for a typical congressional hearing. Well, no shit, Sherlock. A reported 9 million people watched former President Trump's impeachment trial in 2020 on a typical day during those proceedings on Capitol Hill. So that's good. I didn't watch anything. I saw the highlights this morning. I don't have the time or the patience to sit and watch these bureaucratic cunts talk about this shit. What I do have the patience is to watch 5 to 20 minute videos recapping it. But I think with that, yeah, I think we're finally done here. So let's move on from the news. You know, while I was researching and recording those news stories, I was ignoring my cell phone alerts and notifications because I have manners. But I paused this podcast recording to let it do its thing, and I checked my phone, and I must be doing something right because I got 3 phone numbers from some ladies that I met online. And I don't know if I'm the only one that feels like this, and it could be because I was raised in the 90s and early 2000s, but getting a girl's phone number is still a very anxious, nerve-wracking question. And I know that in today's society, it's probably not as a important leap or important step in the relationship or whatnot, because we have so many multitudes of ways of talking to one another. So getting a girl's phone number may not be seen as the big deal as it once was. But speaking personally, it is a big deal to me still. And the fact that I've gotten 3 girls' phone numbers today, I mean, whew, makes me completely forget about that catfish hoe the other day. So, awesome. That proves to me that the issue was with her, not me. I got my issues, don't get me wrong. I got plenty of issues. But I am meeting people still, and they feel trustworthy enough to me. So I must be doing something right, okay? And here's the thing. I'll make a deal with y'all. If I go out on a couple dates between now and our next recording here, and if I get told by at least one more lady that they feel catfished by me because of my photos, then not only will I come on here and apologize, but I will do my damnedest to find that other girl who said that and apologize to her. Because I gotta say, I may have put on more weight than I initially thought. I had my doctor's appointment, and she weighed me, and I weighed 225 pounds. And boy, did my doctor lay into me. And before you get all butthurt and say, well, that's not professional, why is your doctor getting on you? We have that relationship. I respect her. I love that about her. That's one of the reasons why I look forward to going to my doctor, is that she doesn't pull punches. She's Eastern European. I believe she's either Romanian or Bulgarian, something strange. And, you know, there's no nonsense. And I find that very attractive. not only in a person, but in a profession. And so she said, "You've gained weight." And I thought, oh shit, maybe that girl was right. And I said, "When was I here last?" And it was about 2 years ago. And she said, "You weighed 209 2 years ago." So I thought, okay, so that's about 15 pounds. And I asked her, "Well, do you think it's all fat?" Because I have done a lot more, I have changed up my workout routine. And I am doing less cardio, which I don't think is a good thing. And I have been doing more lunges and lifting and dips and everything. So I think I put on some muscle weight, but not 15 pounds, people. I'm not going to bullshit you, nor did I bullshit my doctor. So then I asked her, "Well, do you think that this photo," and I showed her the photo, my dating profile. I mean, again, this is the relationship I have with my doctor. And she said, "No, that you don't look so much worse now than you do in that photo. But there is a difference, but it's not anything overwhelmingly alarming or anything." So I thought, okay, so I still feel good about how I handled that catfish accusation. However, I have put on 15 pounds. But I can't say with a straight face, and I'm honest, people. I am very honest to myself, about myself, especially when it comes to my weight. I know for a fact that that 15 pounds is not all fucking fat flab, fat fuck. It's not. It is, some of it is muscle. Not all. I would say maybe half of it is muscle. Because the photo in question on my dating app, I look at that picture and then I make the same pose in the same mirror, and I can see that my thighs are a little thicker, that my arms are a little thicker, my shoulders are slightly more broad. But, I do have more of a gut now than in the photo. Not 20 pounds much more of a gut, but it is noticeable. So maybe, I do need to lose a little bit of weight. There's no maybe about it. I always need to lose weight. My dream weight is 180 pounds. And I think when I was pushed out of my mom, I weighed 190. So I don't think I ever weighed 180 pounds, but that is my dream goal weight. And all laughing aside, I honestly do not remember the last time I was 180 pounds, maybe high school. And it's funny because in high school, I thought I was Jabba the Hutt. And now I look back and said, I would kill so many Republicans and nuns and children if I could lose 40 to 50 pounds right now. Because I don't need to lose 40 or 50 pounds. I think that my body, my genetics, my biology, whatever you want to say, has groomed me to be a certain weight. I think inside my DNA thinks that it's still 1700s and there's going to be an awful winter coming up. So we need to store as much fat as we can in the thighs and the belly and the ass. And so I got to get my body over that because it's not 1700s. There is not a bad winter coming. I'm not going to starve anytime soon. So if I could just change my evolutionary biology to show, you know what? I don't need this gut. I don't need this ass. No, I wish there was, oh, maybe like a charity thing where fat fucks could go get surgery done and donate their fat. And then that fat could be broken down and be given to people who need to gain weight. Maybe third world countries or local people that suffer from anorexia or bulimia or anything like that. And you know what? And if rich people want to pay, fat fucks should be able to sell their fat to rich people for like ass injections, lip injections. You know what I'm talking about? And by the way, ass injections are no longer for shallow hoes online. Now they're for shallow men hoes online as well. I have seen predominantly gay men that are getting ass implants. And then I look at them, and then I look at my ass, and I think, shit, maybe some women will think that I've gotten ass implants, but I don't know. My ass isn't that juicy. It is kind of a bubble butt, though. That's why I still say that the evolution fucked me over. Not only does my body think that it's 1700s and that killer winter's coming, but I also think that I was supposed to be born a present day black woman. And I'm not trying to be racist or stereotypical, but the cliche thinking is that American black women tend to have wider hips and juicier, thick asses, much like your boy here. And before I lost about 50 pounds a couple years ago, I was getting to have some titties. So I thought, if I could get a nice C cup going and my big ass booty and hips, yeah, and I'm Italian, and honestly, the Italians are the blacks of Europe. Let's face facts here. That really, I should have been born a black woman, and I would have been just so good in that. I think that is my calling. Me being a chunky white boy is it's just so boring. Whenever I walk through Seattle and I look around at the white people walking around, and I'm like, you know what? 80% of the dudes look like me. We all are slightly overweight. We all have armpit stains because we're always sweating. And we have beards and we all are wearing t-shirts. Some of us wear shorts. And it's just like we all look the same. We all look like Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen's, and Danny McBride's. There is no difference. But when I look at black women, I see tons of difference. And I wonder if black women look at white men like me and think the same thing, or do they see themselves as looking like everyone else, and then they see white boys like me and think, that guy looks so different. There's a whole spectrum of chunky white boys. I don't know. Because what's the other stereotype? All Asians look the same, which I don't believe in. Well, I will say most Asians that are not Chinese, they do not look the same. But I wonder if Chinese or just Asian people in general look at Americans and think we all look alike. Predominantly white women and white men. I would say I would like that. I'd like to have a talk show called Is This Racist? Where you have as much diversity as possible and you ask the cliche, stereotypical racist questions just to get clarification. I'm sure Fox News would jump at that. What an opportunity. But you know what? Since we're done with the news and the personal stuff, I think we can look at my journal, which we haven't done consistently in some time. So let me go ahead and pull that mofo up here and let's dig in. Let me see if I can remember that jingle. It's time for Angelo's journal. Yeah, yeah. What's it gonna be? Who the fuck knows? Bow, wow, 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 wow. The thing about Angelo's journal, I write shit down, forget about it, remember to look at it at the podcast. I pull this mofo up and I haven't looked at it since I wrote it. It could have been a year ago, a month ago, a week ago. Who the fuck knows? But you know what? Before I get into the journal, I guess now would be a good time to talk about my book idea that I teased forever ago on this podcast. I teased a book idea and a movie idea. Last episode, I did the movie idea about a bro like me living next door to a vacant house that gets bought by someone on the equivalency of like a Harry Styles. And then Harry Styles and the main character kind of form a friendly relationship, gets invited over to Harry Styles' house to meet all his famous friends like Zac Efron and people like that. And then Harry Styles goes over to the main character's house and meets his goofy ass friends, and just comedy ensues is my point. And there's a bunch of wrinkles to it, is my saying. But anyway, that is the movie idea. But the book idea, okay, LaFonda, Jesus Christ, come here. My fucking co-host here. Now, this book idea I have is pretty reminiscent of a movie from about 10 years ago, I think. 10 or 8 years ago, called Across the Pines or Beyond the Pines. A Place Beyond the Pines. God damn it, what is that movie called? It's the one that has Bradley Cooper, Ryan Gosling. There was another big actor in it. Daniel DeHaan. Who else? Ray Liotta was in it. A Place Beyond the Pines. Is that what it's called? A Place Beyond... Not Bringing. Stupid swipe text. The Place Behind the Pines. That doesn't sound right, but that's the movie. So anyway, my book idea is a little bit like The Place Beyond the Pines movie. And I don't know why, but I am inspired by that storytelling style of that movie. Even though I only saw the movie once, and I thought it was okay. But anyway, if you don't know, the movie tells a story of a couple characters through different timelines. So you follow Ryan Gosling, Bradley Cooper, and Eva Mendes. That's who I couldn't think of. Like the 1990s. And then something crazy happens that involves all three of them. and then it jumps ahead to like present day. And now you have Bradley Cooper as a totally different character. Ava Mendes is a totally different character. I mean, they're the same character, but just a different point in their lives. A lot has happened. And then you have some of the characters' children are now main characters. But anyway, so it just kind of tells generational story about a few families in this town and how certain actions have ripple effect across decades. It's a pretty cool idea for a movie. And, it was a pretty okay movie. I don't want to give any spoilers, but Ryan Gosling is hot shit and he's barely in the movie. I thought Bradley Cooper was a little overly dramatic in this movie, a little over the top, not one of his best work. But I will say Ava Mendes was better in it than I thought she'd be. I thought she'd just be the eye candy. I think it's actually when she met Ryan Gosling was on this set, and aren't they married now? I'm pretty sure they are. Hold on a sec. Don't they have like kids and shit? Ryan Reynolds, not Ryan Reynolds. God damn, my head is just stuck on studs. Ryan Gosling, and we want Ava Mendes. Are they still together? Shit, they are still together. They've been together since 2011, and I think that's when the movie was made, if I'm not mistaken. 2011. This movie was, come on, motherfucker, swipe up, 2012. So it was probably getting filmed in 2011, is my point. They met on the set. I'm just going to make up a rumor and say that's what happened, even though I'm pretty sure that's well-known knowledge. But anyway, back to my book idea. I kind of thought of doing the same thing. How one action involving a number of people will have ripple effects, and I want to tell that story kind of in the same style. You could basically say I'm ripping off A Place Beyond the Pines, and that's exactly what I'm doing, but I'm doing my own spin on it. Now, I'm going to read this book idea to you, and I gotta warn you, I wrote this when I was extremely high, and I'm going to read it now to you extremely high. And you may ask yourself, Angelo, why are you extremely high? Well, let me tell you why. It's because it's Friday evening. I finished work. It's raining outside, so I have an excuse not to go outside and work. And once I'm done with this podcast, I'm going to knock out about 20-25 minutes on my bike, maybe do some other exercises if I feel the want to, if you catch my meaning. And then I'll take a shower, and then I'm done. And all those things are so much better when you're high. And let's not forget, it is Friday evening. And me being a single guy, you would think, well, Angela, why aren't you out with some babe? Well, shit happens. But it wasn't all bad, getting those 3 phone numbers, so I can't complain. My point being, today's bong day. So I particularly get danked up when I'm hitting the bong. I don't know why. Joints don't do this to me. Vape pens sometimes do this to me, but it's a much more harsher, unpleasant high. But when you hit a bong just right, I mean, there's nothing better. Edibles are too much of a wild card. Sometimes I eat one edible and I don't feel nothing. I eat 2 or 3 edibles and I don't feel anything. Then other times I eat half of one and it's the same brand, same company, same levels of THC, and it sends me to the moon. So I don't know what to do. I like fucking with edibles, but they're not my preference. They're probably my least favorite way of intaking that sweet, sweet dankage. LaFonda, are you getting some of that secondhand high? Jesus, you're trying to crawl onto the keyboard. Come on. Settle down. Oh, my goodness. All right, I'm going to have to pause this stupid thing and take care of this cat here. She's driving me cray-cray. Okay, so here is my book idea that may or may not be a shameless ripoff of A Place Beyond the Pines. Book idea. The tale of 2 men unknowingly know each other. Oh, okay, so this is how it's different. Okay, so it's not a complete ripoff. It's only about a 75% ripoff. A bar owner and a drug addict. Okay, so those are the 2 main characters. Bar owner, drug addict. The bar owner is a little bit like Bob from Bob's Burgers, but he has one of those cameras that has physical pictures. What? And he takes a picture every night of the made-up drink he does, kind of like Bob's Burgers with the burger. Okay, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Already I'm confused. He has one of those cameras that has physical pictures. Am I talking about a Polaroid? But I must have been so high I don't remember the word for Polaroid here. Okay, so he has a Polaroid, and he takes a picture of the menu that he makes every day. Okay, now we're caught up here. The drug addict steals it and runs into traffic and dies. um, what? Okay, I think I remember a little bit more to the story there because that doesn't make any sense. So yes, the Polaroid is means a lot to him. It's kind of his monument to himself at his job. And I also envisioned that every day he takes a Polaroid of the menu and puts it up on the bar so people can see it and so they can talk about it with the customer. It's just a fun little kitschy thing. You get what I'm saying? And out of nowhere, this drug addict steals it, probably to pawn it for like 50 cents because who the fuck is going to pay big money for a Polaroid camera? But he runs into traffic and dies. Okay. The bartender picks up his camera from the dead man and takes a picture of the dead man and goes back in the bar, and then we follow the drug man's history. Okay, so maybe this is the first, I don't know, 50, 60 pages of the book here. Let's see. Laborer went to high school with the bartender. Oh, so he's a blue collar laborer worker, like an electrician or plumber or some shit, but he went to high school with the bartender. Okay. He shows up to work drunk just once and has an accident on the job, hurting himself. But the company, which is a big company like Amazon, won't pay for his medical bills because he was drunk at work. Oh, that's right. I remember this. So yeah, I'm gonna have this guy, this blue collar guy, this drug addict or whatever you want to call him, the guy that dies, that he actually was a pretty decent guy, but just because of no fault of his own, he didn't get the certain breaks as say the bartender guy did. And so this blue collar guy, whatever, does okay at school, but not good enough to like go to a college, or he goes to a trade school, he learns a trade, but then he starts working somewhere. And he's actually a pretty good worker. And maybe this is, 100 pages now that we're into of the book here. And you start to see that this guy is pretty good. You know a guy like this. If you're a woman, maybe you want to fucking marry this guy. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, he fucks up once, just once. And let's say he's working at this place a year and a half. Not quite long enough to get certain benefits, but he's on the cusp. That kind of cliche thing. But he goes a little too hard the night before. Maybe one of his buddies talks him into doing something. So he shows up to work a little hung over. And to take the edge off, he goes on his break to buy a little airplane bottle, let's say at a convenience store across the street, and just empties it and then goes back to work. And he starts to feel better and starts to doing his job okay, but he is slightly tipsy. But again, this guy is not a troublemaker. He's not this kind of person who shows up to drunk work at all the time. You know what I'm saying? This guy's good. He just fucked up once, but something bad happens. Let's say he has to climb something tall and he slips because he's a little tipsy and he falls and he breaks his leg or hip or his arm, something that fucks him up bad, and he has to go to the hospital for surgery. And the company, which is like, again, think of Walmart, think of Amazon, think of Target, something like that, Starbucks, and they refuse to pay his medical bills. Maybe he does have health benefits. Maybe he just got them. I don't know. But they won't pay for it because he was drunk on the job and he gets fired. Because they say you could have killed other coworkers, which is technically true. He could have killed some of his coworkers, but I think that he maybe tries to fight it in court a little bit, but no lawyer will take the case. And they're saying, look, there's nothing you can do. You were drunk at work, man. But he said, yeah, but look at my career. Like, I've never done anything like this. I have a spotless record. This is a freak accident. Surely they have to make an exception, at least pay for some of the medical bills, and it doesn't work. So then what happens to him is what happens to a lot of unfortunate Americans in this country, which is you go on disability and you can only earn so much, but your medical bills take everything and you don't have the money. And what you can get is medicine that's an opiate, and you start getting overdosing on that. So we start to see the slow downward spiral of this guy based on just one poor action, which is getting drunk the night before and he goes to work a little hungover. Is that something that should ruin a man's life? Something like that. And I think that's the point I'm trying to get across. Let's see, let me catch up here on my notes here. Even though he worked for them for over 5 years and this was the only bad thing he ever did on the job. Okay, I already talked about that. He gets addicted to pills, then he can't find work, and he loses his family. Oh shit, so I had this guy married. I don't remember that. And he ends up homeless. Okay. And ends up robbing the bar owner, and then he dies. Oh, okay. So then you see what's happened to the drug addict. Although I thought there was more about the bar owner. Let's see. Oh, I have a subplot here. Maybe this is a better movie. No, this is either going to be a TV series. No, no. It's either going to be a long ass movie. It's probably better for a book. Subplot: a political senator or city councilman tried to help the labor worker before it got too bad. Interesting. Oh, I remember this. So yeah, and then you were going to, after you caught up with the drug addict, the former labor guy. I don't know why I can't talk, guys. I'm high as shit. You know what I'm talking about. The main character at this point. We know what happened to him. So then he goes back into this politician. So a political senator or city councilman tries to help the labor work before it gets too bad, but the politician dies in a mass shooting. Oh, so there you go. We have so many mass shootings in this country, and this poor senator or councilman gets killed in the crossfire. The mass shooter could also be a connection to the bartender and the labor worker. Okay. Maybe all three went to the same high school. Maybe even four, including the politician. So wait, you would have the bar owner, the laborer, the assassinator, and the councilman, senator, all going to the same. Okay. And that's where my book ends. So maybe it was not as good of an idea as I thought because it's not finished. And I can already see that it's convoluted as a motherfucker. But you have to agree with this statement. Maybe. Well, you don't have to. That's debatable, but I would like you to. It's at least a good premise. It goes off the rails near the end, but I think I could fix it up a little bit. But I like that idea. Something crazy happens, and then you find out that the two characters were connected, and you see what how they got to that point. I'm sure the bar owner had a backstory too, and I just didn't write it down or remember. But I definitely remember the senator, councilman trying to help the labor guy, but it was all political. He was trying to get points, but he truly was trying to help him as well. And I think, yes, all three may have gone to the same school, but the bartender had to do something. But I guess if you want to make it more convoluted, you could add the mass shooter, the assassinator, as being another person in the same class. Because this could really be anywhere in Middle America. It doesn't have to be Middle America, anywhere in this country, actually. So I think it's a pretty good idea now that I explained it a little bit. It has to get cleaned up a bit, but it's not as complete as my movie idea. But this book idea, I think, at least has legs. What do y'all think? Let me know. Shoot me a DM or message me about your opinion. But anyway, let's see if we can knock out a few of these journal entries. All right, let's see here. Most people, especially boomers, say they want diversity, but really only want to see diversity on television or in movies and magazines, etc. They don't actually want to experience or see diversity face to face. If the diversity gets a little too close to them, they run the opposite direction. That's not really duh. I mean, that's common sense. I mean, there's not much meat on that bone. Moving on. Human nature, I would like to think, is predominantly positive. However, just like the billionaire who robs you of your pension in retirement, or the homeless person stealing your wallet or breaking into your car, it doesn't matter. Your shit is still getting stolen by assholes. Boy, I was on one this day. You shouldn't hate someone because they have more than you. You should hate someone who has more than you based on how they got it and what are they doing with it. Yeah, but I would okay, I'm going to push back on myself here and say you shouldn't immediately hate someone. You need to find out all those things and then save your hate is my point. You don't want to overextend your hate because then hate loses all meaning. You get my point? It's like butter that's stretched too thin on a piece of bread. You want to do it the right way. You want it to spread evenly throughout the bread, but there can be some bare spots because you kind of want the butter to be thick and a little bit thick, maybe 25% thick. You get what I'm saying? Oh man, I kind of want some bread and toast. Is there anything better than just bread and toast? I mean, that's got to be what like the most eaten food in the history of mankind. I would say butter and toast has got to be, what, top 25? If you think about it. Number one has got to be bread or a potato or, I guess, just foliage that's edible, I would think, or meat. But what kind of meat? I don't know. You get what I'm saying? That's a cool idea. I should write that in the fucking journal. Anyway, back to this archaic entry here. And you also shouldn't call poor people or homeless people heroes just because they're homeless or poor. Some of them are probably cunts. Boy, I really would like to know what I was watching or what I was reading or what did I experience to write that fucking entry. But, there is some truth to it. You shouldn't just call someone a hero based on their job. Like, I've seen people call every policeman, every fireman, every veteran, every serving military member, any, I don't know, doctor, heroes. Oh, you guys are heroes. And I'm like, well, sure. I think the profession itself is heroic, but that's the profession. Becoming a doctor is a heroic task. Becoming an actual good policeman and doing it right is a heroic. It would be something I would consider heroic. But again, I think it's at the profession level. And then once you go individual, that hero term starts to lose its glow a little bit, if you catch my meaning. It's harder and harder to become an actual hero. Like, not every fireman is the equivalency of Iron Man. You get what I'm saying? Not every police officer is Luke Skywalker. Let's calm it down, who we are considering heroes these days. That's another term that we throw around. You shouldn't call someone a hero just because they're homeless or poor. I don't think people are calling the homeless heroes, so I don't know what my point is there. So I think my aim was true, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Homeless and poor. Who the fuck are calling homeless and poor people heroes just because they're homeless and poor? That's stupid. But I am expanding on that and saying, yes, just because you serve in the military just doesn't automatically earn you the modicum of hero, in my opinion. I've met plenty of military personnel that are fucking assholes and cunts. I've met some that are actually heroes, ones that actually had to do something brave. But just because you went to a fucking desert and that has a stand at the end, and you were there for 2.5 years, 3 years, just so you could go to college, I don't really think you're a hero. Again, you have to do something brave or heroic to earn that title, in my opinion. We just can't give away A+ words. You know what I'm saying? You can't just give away these great labels that used to mean something, but they start to lose their meaning if just, every frontline worker is a hero, every nurse is a hero. Well, not really. Okay, again, individuals are often not heroes. Am I a hero? I haven't fucking done anything brave that I can think of. So I am not a hero. Would I like to think that I have something heroic in me that's screaming to get out? Maybe. I guess it depends on the situation, but let's just cool it with the term hero, I guess. But I don't think that was the point of the journal entry. But anyway, I ended up by calling everybody cunts. And that's true. That is true. You can be a cunt no matter what. But on that happy note, I think that's enough for the journal. I think we're running long as is here. And at this point, I'm just fucking rambling. So I love y'all. Take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And yeah, don't be a judgmental cunt. And yeah, peace out, y'all.